Hi, and welcome to Thursday Zoom class. We're just going to get right into it. We've had some questions about some of the exercises that were in the book, and we're going to just be working through some of those together. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to be doing number 10 on the practical review that says Mrs. Smith is a 32 weeks gestation and is admitted with severe bleeding with abdominal cramping. An emergency ultrasound is done and fetal monitors are applied. She is diagnosed with total placenta prevera with indication of fetal distress. An emergency cesarean section is done with delivery in a viable male infant. Okay, so let's just break it down. What do we absolutely know that she has? She has
Severe bleeding.
Well, she has placenta prevera.
Yeah.
With indications of fetal distress. So let's find our ICD-10 code for placenta prevera. Jenny, did you go to placenta?
No, I went to, first I went to complication, then I went to pregnancy with complication. And I think, ultimately I did go to the placenta because I always check it, I'll go to everything just to make sure I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's, but
yeah, well,
it doesn't have nothing about fetal distress either in that. So that's what confused me too.
Well, maybe, and we'll look up placenta prevera because maybe whenever they say placenta prevera, that fetal distress is automatically included in that.
Right.
So I'm at placenta and it says see pregnancy.
Yeah, that's what I'm pretty sure I found it in the pregnancy, and it's the complication. It's on the pregnancy and then complication part of the pregnancy.
Pregnancy.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
I know. I'm always saying my alphabet too, Chase. Pregnancy, complicated.
So, fetal gestation. She's diagnosed with total placenta.
Yeah, I believe it's on 394. Yeah, 394.
Placenta. Placenta prevera.
Yeah.
Okay, it says with total placenta prevera. So would we do, well, it's the same number. I've got to get.
There's no total though. That's the thing too. It says complete and marginal, but and it says it in one of the little notes, where they put the little notes and stuff and explains what it is, and it says total in that, but in the actual codes, it just says complete. And then it confused me because it says she's bleeding. So I was like, so is that with hemorrhage or no?
With severe bleeding and abdominal cramping.
That would be what hemorrhage is. She's hemorrhaging, so she's
that's what I thought. I coded it with hemorrhage because it didn't actually say.
I would agree. 4.1. Okay. Now that's one. Let's see. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So what all does it want us to do here?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Okay, so do we have to do something with the gestation for 32 weeks?
I did. I coded the gestation. I coded 082, which is the C-section code, and then I coded the Z38.01, which is the live infant born in hospital from cesarean. That's the 4 codes I did.
Okay, so you did the placenta prevera,
right?
The C-section.
That was the first one. Yeah.
Then we did C-section,
right?
And then we did live infant. I only have 3 codes. What else did you get?
I did the 23A.32 because she was 32 weeks gestation. So I coded her gestation as well because I thought maybe that was the 4th code because I just couldn't.
Yeah, it is that. Yeah, we have to have that gestation code too. So you did exactly right. But let's look at the 041.1 and let's see if that gets us our placenta prevera with bleeding. Jenny, you need to be teaching us about pregnancy because you got every single one of those.
I was
I
about to say
swear
you
it
might.
took me like an hour. I was going through every avenue, but I was like, I'm just gonna stop second guessing myself.
That's the way to do it. Now, Chase, what did you start to say?
Oh no, I was just saying you might have pulled your hair out, but you got them all. Let's see. See if I have problems with it, I just roll up to the official guidelines that's bold in our text and just go through it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have
Because
to figure
like these rules help you do it. See, routine outpatient prenatal visions with
So,
no
complicated
complications.
placenta prevera with hemorrhage, unspecified trimester.
Yeah, I
Okay,
did the
so 32 weeks would be
44-13.
what trimester?
Third, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Because I did the 044.13.
that's what I would do too, because it's the third
Okay.
trimester. Y'all, it's been
Yeah.
a long time since I've been pregnant. I'm supposed to have to pull out my fingers.
Mhm.
Chase, do you agree that it's 044.13?
Well, I haven't done any of these, so I don't have anything to go back and look through. So you said 04423?
1-3.
Oh, 13, hang on. But I have a magical thing. 044.13, complete placenta prevea with hemorrhage, third trimester. Use additional codes from Z3A, weeks of gestation to identify the specific week of gestation, if known. So yeah, I agree.
So are you looking it up on your electric, my goodness, you're on,
Very much so. So I don't have to like flip all the way and find it, but um it gives you all the notes on it, which is the most amazing thing. But like it also gives you exclude ones and twos if you need to go quick.
right. So you're
Um
using your website to look it up initially, and then you're going to your tabular and double checking it.
no. So I'm in my index currently, but since I haven't done any of these problems, I don't have
Uh-huh.
anything written down.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm hearing y'all's numbers and I'm like, okay, well, let me go look, but I can't do it as quickly. So I'm using the tabular list and the online thing to look at it. So
Oh, that's awesome. That I was asking just because those are great resources. And the
yeah,
only time that you're not going to be able to use those is when you take your NCCT. But
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as going through the index. You
mhm.
type in your search word and you find it, which I have my index physically in front of me, but it's not like I can go like that fast. But you also can search the tabular by itself as well. So sometimes if I'm looking through here, instead of turning to my tabular and turning all the way back, I go in here and click it, and I'm like, okay. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take the extra couple of minutes to do it physically if I have to, but this is quick and easy, so I can do multiple things at once.
Right. Well, I think that that's great because we need to use all the tools that we have in our toolbox. There's not one perfect way to do it as long as you're coding it two ways. So,
Mhm.
Jenny, are you having any trouble with the seventh character codes?
No. Those I understand. Like you mean the subsequent initial encounter, all those.
Yeah.
No. Those
Yeah.
everything else, the burns, everything I was good with. It's just the pregnancy ones. I was
Yeah.
kind of
Well, I don't see where you were having trouble with those because you were keeping me on point with that. Me asking, don't we code the gestation?
Trouble was
Well, what I am going to just talk about today, and we're going to just do really quickly, is using the seventh character because some students are having a lot of trouble with that. So what I'm going to do is just go through real quick, and I've taken pictures. I've been working all morning. Y'all be proud. So with using the seventh character, so where does the seventh character come from? It's not always A, D, and S, what I have in our little box here, but most of the time A is your initial encounter, D is your subsequent encounter, and sequela is your late effects, which means when you have a condition or a disease and the symptoms show later, that is your sequela. That's your late effects to you could have arthritis due to a terrible break in your leg. That's a sequela. So I just pulled a couple out of the workbook just to kind of go over real quick. So the first one was hi, Hope. I just saw you pop in.
Yeah, I literally ran home from work.
Oh, I'm
I'm
glad
saying
you
ran.
did. I'm glad you did. We're talking about that seventh character. So I just pulled these out of the workbook in chapter 7. So anaphylactic shock, initial encounter. So your main term is shock. So what I did is I went to the index, I looked up anaphylactic, and it showed me T78.2. So then I went to my tabular, and in my tabular, it had that lovely stop sign right there. And and it has a red X beside it. I don't know why I left my X black, sorry. So when you go to the tabular and you look at TZ78.2, let's see what page that is, guys. So it's T78.2.
I had to relabel my book because in the S to T's, I needed to find the T's. There were so many S's, so I had to put another tab in.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of S's. T78.2 is on page 1502. So when we look at that, we have, well, I did it backwards. It has a red X, a red dot, which we call the stop sign, and it has 78.2. So that just indicates that we cannot code T78.2. We have to add numbers or letters or placeholders. Okay, so
I must say X for placeholder.
yeah, we have to have that initial encounter must be in the 7th place right here.
Correct.
Oops, sorry. All right, so I took pictures of the manual, y'all. See, I cut and pasted and made it fit into here. So this is what anaphylactic shock looks like in our manual. It's the X, the stop sign, T78.2. And then at the bottom, this is our little notes that we have. And let's see, our X says assign a placeholder X. And then our stop sign just simply says use additional characters. So, and then it has your exclude notes and all these wonderful things. So I just wanted everybody to be able to see that that's how it looks in the manual. So it's going to be T78.2XXA, but why? Because that A has to be in the 7th place, right?
Yeah.
So our code is actually T78.2, which is not a viable code. We have to have the XX. So this is 5, 6, 7. Does that make sense? It makes sense the way I'm saying it in my brain. Hope is looking at me like that doesn't make sense, right, Hope?
I did come a little late. I just started like processing information.
Okay, well, we're going to go back and
I
because
appreciate it.
oh, that's fine. What we're discussing is that 7th character. So what the 7th character is going to be about is it's going to be like an initial encounter, a subsequent counter, or a sequela. And where do you see those? Well, you actually see those in your ICD-10 manual. If you can, if you have your manual close to you, you can turn to page 1502.
Oh, such a big book.
I know it's a massive book. We wrestle with that book all the time, don't we, guys?
1,000. What?
502. So the diagnosis that we're actually looking at right now is anaphylactic shock initial encounter.
Okay. I'm getting there.
Don't worry.
This is my first time opening the book. I'm not gonna lie.
That's all right, guys. Do you remember the first time you opened your book and you were like, oh no?
It was a lot.
I remember the first time I took it out of the box, I was like, oh my God.
I can't even fit it in my lap. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit cumbersome.
Anaphylaxis.
So when you get to page 1502, in the right column right there at the very bottom, you see anaphylactic shock. So when you see that red X and that red dot, what the manual is telling you is you cannot use this code as it is. So we're talking about how to make it a code that you can actually use and bill. Well, that X tells you that you're going to have a placeholder. So, and the dot says use additional characters. So Hope, if you'll look up just around that page where we're at 1502, you're going to see two little purple boxes. And they say A, initial encounter, D, subsequent encounter, and S, sequela. And I actually put a little picture of it right here. Well, what these characters is telling us is that we need to use something in this box to make it work. A, D, or S can only be a seventh character. So that's why I left these lines blank. You know, matter of fact, I am going to escape and we're going to put in right here, we're going to put in an A for subsequent encounter. So that our initial encounter, that A has to go there. So then what goes in that has to be number 7. So now we have to have 6 more characters in order for this to be a viable code. So we are looking at T, which is 1, 7, which is 2, 8, which is 3, 2, which is 4, and we need an XX, and the 7th is the A.
Right.
Is that making up? Poor Hope. Look,
No, I actually I get that.
you got
So
that?
you have to have a reason for it.
Right, and so we're going to have an XXA because the A has to be number 7. So in order to make that A number 7, we have to use the X as a placeholder, and we only ever use an X. So the actual code, if you build this to an insurance company, would have to be T78.2 XXA. Anaphylactic shock initial encounter. That's your code right there. Y'all, it was much easier when I was teaching it on the whiteboard because you could write it really big and do your, it looked like we were playing hangman. All right. So I have another scenario here straight out of the workbook. And this one had 3 codes. So I said, let's pull this one so we can kind of think about what we're going to be coding when it's not just one code. So initial encounter, remember that's that little purple box that has A, D, and S in it. So initial encounter, remember, we're going to have that 7th character is going to be an A, right? Initial encounter of a patient transported to the emergency department. The patient died from cardiac arrest due to an accidental overdose from heroin abuse. So before we ever go anywhere, let's decide what we're looking for, okay? So why did he die?
Overdose.
So that's going to have to be our very first code, even though that's not the first thing that we see for a diagnosis. We need to know, the insurance is going to want to know, okay, John came in, he had and why did he die? He died of an overdose. Okay. The second diagnosis, I'm going to tell y'all, I struggled a little bit with it because I was like, I don't understand why we need it and blah, 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 but we do. We have to report that it was an abuse of an opioid with other specific disorder. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. Number 3 is arrest due to an accidental overdose. Okay, so that's our 3 diagnosis codes. And then number 4, I just put a reminder of initial encounter. So we need to be keeping that in our minds, okay? So the very first thing that we need to code is our accidental overdose from heroin abuse. Where do we go to see that? Where do we go to find that?
In our index, right?
Well,
Drugs
there,
and chemicals,
yes, say it again, Jenny.
the chemical and drug chart.
The chemical and drug chart. Okay, now just because I'm just spectacular, I have a picture of that for you.
That does make it easier. I
Yes.
just turned to it though.
Yeah, you can turn to it. And it's going to be easy. When you turn to this nice colorful chart, what you're going to do is you're going to go to H for heroin and look it up. But this is what I wanted to show you. I want to point out that you need to pay attention to your colors, okay? So your little pink color here is poisoning, accidental, unintentional. That's, it should say the little tab at the top. Your blue is poisoning, intentional, self-harm. Purple are, I don't know, this probably, you know the colors. Poisoning, assault. Then yellow is poisoning, undetermined. And then really purple is adverse effects. And then the green is underdosing. So all the colors mean something, right? They cannot be ignored. So this is going to make it a little bit easier when I do this. So here is heroin right here. So we had an accidental overdose from heroin abuse. So what is our accidental? It's our first column, correct? All right, so heroin in our first code is going to be what?
T40.1x1.
T40.1x1. So we're still going to check that in our tabular, but right now we're just getting all of our codes together to go back to our tabular to see if we have the right storyline here. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look up abuse opioid with other specific disorder. Can you tell me why we need other specific disorder? Because of the cardiac arrest. So we go to abuse, then we go to drug, and then we follow it down. Now see, this first one says opioid, F11.0. And you know what? That's what Ms. Marsha wrote at first. I thought, oh, I don't need to go any further. Please, please, please double check. It's actually going to be other specific disorder, F11.188. So let's write that down. F11.188. And then, of course, you see all kinds of things. You have drug and you have delusions, hallucinations, sleep disorder, and specified disorders. But we are looking for specified because we know for sure that we had a cardiac arrest, right? Hey, everybody, say hi to Miss Ashley. She's just hopping in. Miss Ashley, you're welcome to show your face if you want to.
And Miss Wanda.
Yeah, this is the new instructor.
Hello.
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 Hey.
Chase is talking while he writes. I do the same thing. A, B, C, L.
So wait,
Yeah.
F11.188 was okay.
Other specific, yeah, disorder.
Other specific disorder. Gets a
That
little tricky, doesn't it?
That was for the cardiac.
Yeah.
Right. Now we have to actually code that.
Now we have to do
Oh,
arrest
fun.
due to an accidental overdose. Boy, it's overkill, isn't it? It's really, really giving some specifics. So we would go to arrest, cardiac. Now, if we started at cardiac arrest, it would be I46.9. But he had it due to a specified condition. What was the specified condition?
Heroin abuse.
Drug overdose.
He overdosed, right? So that just gives more specifics. It is like down to the T specific. So I46.8. All right, now I want to ask something. As soon as you write that down, I want us to take a look. Let's look at cardiac in pregnancy. What do we see here? We see that red dot, right? What is that going to indicate to us?
She can't use that code.
You cannot use just this code. We're going to have
You
to
gotta use
add
an
some
additional.
things, right?
Yeah.
So anytime that you see that red dot, remember I told you, stop. That's our stop sign. Stop, take a look. Let's figure out what's wrong here. And then if we have a red X with it, it means we need what?
The X placeholder.
We need placeholders, right? We need that 7th character. And then that's when we start looking for our little boxes. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to double check our codes that we just wrote down. Okay, so Chase, you check accidental overdose from heroin abuse. T, well, this one, okay. And Jenny, you check your abuse opioid with other specified disorder. And Hope, you look at I46.8 and make sure that it's arrest due to an accidental overdose. Let's make sure that our codes are good. Now, remember that the reason that code number 1 has an A, it's because it's our initial encounter. Of course, it would be hard to die from an overdose and have it be subsequent encounter, right? Because that means you had to come back to life and then Die again.
Correct.
So
I don't use that very often, right?
40.1.
if I may ask, what do you guys use to label your books? Because I have not labeled mine yet.
That's
Um,
one
let me see if I can
accidental.
find.
Stuff. Remember I said go to Walmart. Well, I went to Office Depot. Walmart has better ones, but I use these.
Okay.
But these
I
are the
might-
short tabs. I should have used this for everything, but I have long tabs for my chapters.
Right.
I don't know what I did with mine. I have a whole bucket of them though.
I think I'm gonna have to take a trip after this class because oh no.
And you want if you can absolutely do the Post-it brand because they're heftier, they're gonna stick on better.
And I believe you said in the test, they test that, like they check for that, right?
Well, they checked it. Yeah, they're gonna check to see if they're gonna make you shake your book. And if any of your tabs fall off, then you have to throw them out. But
Wow.
okay, so Jenny, you look like that you've checked your abuse opioid with other specified disorder. How did we do?
Yeah, that I looked up around it, and that seems to be the one that classifies it the most as opioid abuse with other opioid induced disorder.
Okay, so that sounds like a viable code. All right, Chase,
Yeah.
what about our main code here, our first listed?
We're gold.
We're
Poisoning
gold.
by heroin, accidental, unintentional, not elsewhere, not otherwise specified. So yeah. T40, 1X1, and then of course the A for the initial encounter.
Okay, and Hope is looking up our arrest due to accidental overdose. We'll give her a minute. It is no pressure, Hope. Do, 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 do,
I feel the pressure.
no pressure.
So it would be 586 that it's arrest due to accidental. See, I done messed myself up because I wasn't looking for accidental, I was looking for arrest.
Well, if you go to your tabular, you're just going to go to the letter I.
These are where them tabs come in handy.
Right.
Yeah, they do. And you could get with just about probably either one of these. We'll chase our Jenny about how they tab their books, but it's kind of self-explanatory. Just however you. So I am looking at I-4T6.8. If I could find my numbers, if I can number correctly here. It's on page 901. Cardiac arrest due to other underlying condition.
Oh, I was in well.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I want to point out that I-46.8 has a note that says code first, the underlying condition. What was our underlying condition, guys?
The accidental
Abuse.
overdose.
The
from heroin.
overdose, right? So in that code, it says, hey, wait a minute, code why this happened first. So this tells the story. John came in with an accidental overdose from heroin. He has an abuse of opioids, and he has now had an arrest with an cardiac arrest with an accidental overdose. It was his initial encounter. That tells the whole story, right? Gives all the information the insurance needs to be able to accept the claim.
So you don't have to code the death.
Not in this specific,
Please.
not in this specific case. All right. So let's oops. All right, now this one we're just going to do freehand. So sprain, left ankle, initial encounter. So initial encounter is going to be what?
A.
A. That's our 7th character. So what's going to be our code though? So where do we go? What is our main term?
Sprain.
A sprain. All right, so in our index, we're going to go to sprain. Our index is in the front. It's our gray, less colorful portion. when you get to spraying, please call out your page number so that I can get there when y'all do, because I'm slow and y'all are not. So
It's
spraying.
7:30 in the index.
7:30?
7:30 or 4:30?
4:30.
4:30. I'm sorry. I was looking at one
No,
of the
Jenny, I
numbers.
was like, okay, hang on a minute. I know I see spraying, but what am I missing?
Yeah, I was looking at one of the numbers on the page.
Yes, 730. And then what do we look for?
The ankle or left ankle.
It doesn't have left or right specified, but it says ankle 793.40 and has the red little stop sign. So I'd imagine that's going to be in the tablet where you find left or
Okay,
right.
so ankle S93.40, is that what y'all see too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now notice our little dot. We already know that we're gonna have a 7th character. We already know that we have to add something. So we're gonna go to S93.40.
We're in the S codes a lot today.
Yep. S93.40, page 1425.
Ankle. 40. Sprain of unspecific ligament ankle.
So we're sprained which ankle? We sprained our left. ankle,
Left.
correct?
Yes.
So
1,
on
2, 3,
one-
4, 5, 6,
1425.
Got it.
It's S93.402.
Okay, S93.402. Can we
Okay.
leave it there or do we need more?
Okay.
No, you got to add the A for initial encounter.
Okay, so it would be S93.402A. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Hope, how you feeling? You feeling like, oh, mercy me?
Yeah.
I know this is fast. I know it's fast, but do you kind of see the concept that we're doing anyway?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it comes with more practice as well.
It really does. It really does. And you just got your manuals, so please don't worry. If you guys have just gotten your manuals, remember, you don't have to take a final test. You don't have to worry about the exams. Right now, you're just getting acclimated. And even though we're coming to the end of this module, because I want to make sure everybody understands that this is the last full week we have in this module. Our module ends next Wednesday. So guess what? This weekend, let's make sure we're caught up. I know that I'm not speaking to the people that are just in the class. Remember, I'm speaking to everybody out there in OMBC land, right?
Mhm.
So, all right, so here we go. Another one. Hematoma of the nose, subsequent encounter, something a little different. And see, we have our little blue box and D is subsequent. So what do we need to look up? What's our key term?
Hematoma.
All right, so hematoma in our index, the gray section in the front of the book. Look, I have my hands off the wheel. I'm not even looking.
279.
279.
I will say I'm pretty spoiled to the website.
Well, you're more than welcome to use the website. Just make sure that you double check them in the tabular, which is that the back portion of your manual where all the
Okay.
pretty colors are. Because most things are going to be electronic when you get to your facility.
Because whenever I was like first dipping my toes in the water, that's all I was using was to
Yeah.
try and. You said
I said
279?
27. I did say 279, but I can't find nose on here.
I found face, birth injury, but yeah, I don't see nose either.
Would it be?
Well, nose isn't that part what orbital?
Well, where's
up
your
here
nose at?
on your face, but
Your
just
nose
the
is
other-
on your face, so why don't we try there? I don't know. I'm not looking. I'm letting y'all take care of this one.
Well, it says face birth injury.
Yeah, it doesn't, it just says birth injury and it's the P, so I imagine that would probably be for infant.
All right, so now I'm gonna have to get involved, right?
Well,
I was trying to let y'all have it, but let's see, I don't know. I didn't code these before we started. I like to be surprised.
hematoma of the nose. Well, what's the other word for your face? Isn't it like the orbital bone up here?
Yeah, it should not be that complicated. So hematoma, H-E-M-A. Now I'm saying my alphabet with you, Chase. Hematoma. All right, so I did find hematoma.
With my medical abbreviations when I need them.
Okay, so we don't have, let's see, we're looking for nose, N-O-P. So I do not see nose, you're right, but you guys found face.
Which says birth injury.
So first face birth injury, that's not gonna be it.
Yeah,
No.
that's what I figured, because it's a P code and those are for infant, right?
Right, so we're not gonna do that. So just for giggles, I'm gonna look at nose. I'm sure it's probably not gonna be there, but we're gonna look anyway. Nope, it's not under nose. Okay, so let's keep looking. So with injury of internal organs, open wound, amputation, aorta, abdominal, thoracic. Okay, does anybody have any guesses?
Nope, still working on that part.
No.
Uh, yeah.
All right, so it does cut off pretty quick. So I kind of have a guess, but I want to wait for you guys to see if you're going to guess the same thing I am. All right, I'm going to give you a hint. So how would you know this? You wouldn't, but look under contusion. Where does it say it's a contusion? It says hematoma, but it's under contusion. Whenever you guys get a medical record, it's going to be much more specific than these little scenarios that they're actually throwing at us. And sometimes they're just not specific enough. So I took a look at some extra things. I took a look at the answer key because it tells us where it wants us to go, right? So while y'all are looking under contusion, I want to.
Okay. S00.33.
Okay, what page?
172 in the index.
Okay, so a contusion is a type of hematoma. I couldn't let that rest. I have to find out why. So I looked up contusion versus hematoma. So a hematoma is a collection of blood outside the blood vessel. A contusion is a type of hematoma. So there we go. That helps, right? Would it help if
Yeah.
I would have found that out before we started that?
So would it be the same as bruise too, or no?
A contusion and no. I think a hematoma is like is a bruise. It's just right underneath, but I don't know. What do you think, Miss Ashley?
In my opinion, just coming from ER coding, a contusion and a bruise are used interchangeably.
Are they? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because it says on page 1250 in the tabular, under the code, it says contusion of nose, and under it says bruise of nose, hematoma of nose. So yeah,
Okay. All right. So they're used interchangeably. So we learned something. I learned something.
yeah.
Hematoma and contusion are used interchangeably. We won't forget
How
that,
about-
will we?
How about to say, if you look up bruise, it says see also contusion.
Okay. So what was the code that we got?
S00.33.
And then you need the X and the A for the X placeholder.
Is it
And a
A?
D
It's
for the subsequent.
subsequent. So it's a D this time. So
Oh, yeah, sorry.
0.33 XD. There's Miss Wanda. Miss Wanda, we almost done now.
How you doing, Miss Marsha? I've been on though.
Oh, have you? I couldn't see you. I'm sorry. How are
Yeah.
you?
I'm all right. I've been on when you recognized the other instructor and Chase said I was here too.
Oh,
I did.
well, I wish I would have known because I would have clicked over immediately because you know, Miss Wanda, you make me smile every time you say, hi, Miss Marsha. So are you understanding these 7 characters, Wanda? How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, Miss Marsha.
Good, good. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
All right, well, Hope, I know that this stuff is a little difficult. It can be a little confusing, but do not lose hope because guess what? You only have a few more days in this module. And then next Thursday, next Thursday, we start module
Yes.
153 and you're going to be here from the very beginning and that's going to feel great.
Yeah, because it's pretty stressful not like getting everything.
Mhm.
But I know I'll get it next time around.
Next time
Well-
around you will. And guess what? You won't have to do this hard stuff anymore because you've already been through it.
Right.
But and these other students, huh? Did somebody say something? Oh, okay, sorry. I'm hearing things. But like Chase and Jenny and Wanda have been here through the whole thing. So it's a little bit easier because they started with those baby steps. You just jumped feet straight into the pond, you know?
Well, I
So-
wouldn't say mine was the baby steps. Let's see. That's what I was telling her about the Ferris wheel. I was like, you'll come back to this and then get
Right.
it.
Okay, so I'm going to make some announcements really quickly before I push stop record. I want to say again, I've already said it once, but I'm going to say it again. This module ends next Wednesday, which means this weekend, if you are behind on any other assignments from the module, remember, if you have a 0 and you want to do the assignment, put it in comments. I will go back and capture it. If you have a bad grade on a test, text me and let me know. I've went through and I've regraded and that has helped scores. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but just in
Okay.
case maybe I've missed one, if you want to retake, it has to be done this weekend because I'm not doing this at the end of the module. It's too difficult to start a new module and then be still grading in the old module unless there is a doctor's excuse. Pretty much, I'm very pleased. You guys know, no lie, you guys have done great. I'm very pleased with grades. Very pleased with grades. So attendance was a little off today, but that's okay. We have off days. But so stick around for a few minutes. If you're here, I'm going to go ahead and push stop record.